Jai Shri Radhe, Sab Vaishnavan ko Sanamra Saprem Sadar Jai Shri Krishna. It's day 148 of the readings of the 252 Vaishnava disciples of Sri Gosaiji, and we are reading Varta 129, the story of one king from the East, part 1. The king was very attached to Sri Gosaiji and he had full faith in him. He had absolutely no interest in any other activity, path or relationship. He would not discuss anything else and did not speak to anyone. He would not use his body or his wealth for any other purpose. Sometimes bards and beggars would come there and sing the praises of his parents or his fame, but he gave them nothing. Some of them stayed for 2 days, coming back again and again, but he gave them no answer. They asked the king's main personal servant, "What should we do or say to please the king?" He told them, "If you can sing any of the compositions that praise Sri Vallabhacharyaji or Sri Gosaiji, then the king will be pleased with you. If you don't know any, I shall teach you." The personal servant then taught them songs of praise for Sri Acharyaji, Sri Gosaiji and some of their disciples, and they sang them for the king, who was pleased and gave them monetary rewards. He offered them hospitality. In fact, he gave them whatever they asked for. He told them, "You should only ever sing the praises of Sri Acharyaji and Sri Gosaiji. I am but their servant. It is they who have made me the king. I rule on their behalf only. Please only sing their praises." If devotees of the Lord and accompanied Vaishnavas came there, he would sit and discuss the divine pastimes of the Lord with them. They all felt very happy. If by chance no Vaishnava turned up, he would sit alone and read the scriptures. His heart and mind were totally absorbed in the beloved's play. He never discussed with others and was very affectionate to Vaishnavas alone. He had full faith in Vaishnavas and served them very lovingly with his own hands. Sri Gosaiji remained always very pleased with this king. This story teaches that a Vaishnava should not discuss their path with those of other paths. The voice can encourage closeness, whereby relationship to other than the Supreme Lord could form, which is not appropriate. Thus concludes Varta 129, the story of the king who is the recipient of Sri Gosaiji's great grace and an accomplished Vaishnava. There is no end to his tale. Carrying on to Varta 130, the story of Murari Acharya from Kambaich. Bhav Prakash. Murari Acharya is a devotee of Sattvic disposition. In the eternal Leela, he is Sri Yamunaji's Sakhi. His name is Hasini, who helps Chandrakala in her duties as a messenger. Chandrakala has much affection for Hasini, who manifests from Nanda and is thus a form of her divine loving sentiment. He was born to a Shaivite family in Kambaich. He studied a lot and knew the scriptures very well. From when he was just a child, he was very interested in the scriptures about sacrifices and rituals. He was very knowledgeable on that subject. Sometime later, he was married. He had a very good and faithful wife, and they had 2 sons. Part 1. Once Sri Gosaiji had gone to Gujarat. Chacha Harivamsji was with him. Some Vaishnavas from Kambaich came to Rajnagar to request Sri Gosaiji to visit them there. Seeing their enthusiastic wishes, Sri Gosaiji went to Kambaich. He stayed with Sahajpal Doshi. That Brahmin, Murari Acharya, knower of all 6 Shastras, lived nearby. He had great faith in the scriptures concerning sacrifices and Vedic rituals, etc. Murari Acharya came to Sahajpal Doshi's house to see Sri Gosaiji. He and Sri Gosaiji had a short discussion about the Shastras, and then Murari Acharya left. Chacha Harivamsji remarked to Sri Gosaiji, "He is an exemplary Brahmin." He said it 3 times, but Sri Gosaiji did not reply to him. Bhav Prakash. Sri Gosaiji knew that Murari Acharya was a divine soul and that he would naturally and eventually take refuge in the path of grace. Part 1 continued. Sri Gosaiji travelled on from there and came to Mataji via Dwarka. From there he travelled to Adel. Some days later, Murari Acharya had to go to Varanasi. He passed through Mathura on his way to Adel in a group. Chachaji saw him there. Just before the time for the afternoon services, Sri Gosaiji was sitting in his Bertak, and the group of Vaishnavas Kambaich came there to have his sight. Chachaji told Sri Gosaiji that the Brahmin from Kambaich was there. Sri Gosaiji again said nothing. The Brahmin went back to his tent after seeing Sri Gosaiji. Chachaji again asked him, "O Maharaj, you have not answered me on the subject of the Brahmin, and I am wondering why." Hearing Chachaji's words, Sri Gosaiji still kept quiet. After Sri Gosaiji wrote down one Sanskrit verse and sent it with one Vrajvasi to Murari Acharya. The Vrajvasi delivered it to him. When he had read it, the Brahmin realized Sri Gosaiji's true form. Murari Acharya then addressed his wife, "Please get down from the cart on which they were travelling." He also called his elder son who was with them, and took them both with him to have the sight of Sri Gosaiji. He tied the letter Sri Gosaiji had written to his forehead. As he came into Sri Gosaiji's presence, he immediately bowed down to him. He took the paper and handed it to Sri Gosaiji and supplicated, "O Maharaj, please initiate me as your disciple. Please do not delay." Sri Gosaiji said to him, "The proper way is for you to fast for a day before you may be initiated with Brahma Sambandh." Murari Acharya piped up, "But Maharaj, please initiate me with the Lord's name first." Seeing his enthusiasm, Sri Gosaiji initiated the three of them with the Lord's name. Murari Acharya then again supplicated, "O Maharaj, the permanence of the body depends on time, but time itself is not easy to regulate. One cannot depend on the body, so please do not delay." When Sri Gosaiji saw how anxious Murari Acharya was to be initiated, he gave all three of them Brahma Sambandh as well. Sri Gosaiji changed his name to Murari Das and gave him a prasadi garment of Sri Navanit Priyaji to serve. When Murari Acharya reached home, he told the leader of his religious group, "I have taken initiation into Sri Vallabhacharyaji's path of grace." When that leader heard Murari Das's words, his face turned black with rage. He told the whole group, "Do not let him come anywhere near me." One of the men in the group spoke to Murari Das. "This is not a good thing you have done. You have angered the leader. He has pronounced that you can only go near him if you remove your forehead mark and take off your tulsi neck beads. Otherwise you cannot even approach him." The man said this and then left. Later that day, after partaking of Mahaprasad, Murari Das put on the extra large forehead mark and extra tulsi neck beads and went to see the man who had forbidden him to go near him. Everyone there was amazed by Murari Das's bright countenance and aura. They were not able to stop him from entering. He went right up to the leader and engaged him in a debate. That leader realized he would never be able to defeat Murari Das, and he thought to himself that Murari Das's path was the highest and best, and decided that he would also like to become a follower. He bathed in the Sri Yamuna River and did indeed become Sri Gosaiji's disciple. The leader and Murari Das then went together to have the holy sight of Navanit Priyaji and all of Sri Gosaiji's children, and felt very happy thereby. They stayed with Sri Gosaiji for some days and studied his Navaratna, the 9 jewels treatise, along with other texts. Both of them attained enlightened minds. One day they supplicated, "O Maharaj, with your grace we have attained the greatest divine reward. We have now no need to visit pilgrimage sites. Every holy place resides within your lotus feet." Sri Gosaiji replied, "Nevertheless, you should go on pilgrimage, otherwise people will speak ill of you. You should go. Do not go there with any unrelated motive, just go once to adhere to normal societal ways." Bhav Prakash. Sri Acharyaji has written in his Pushti Pravaha Maryada Bhed treatise, adherence to worldly and scriptural Vedic activities is for them just an outward show. For them, the Vaishnava character is totally natural and everything else is incompatible to them. This means that a Pushti Jeev can perform societal practices but must never place any faith in such action and nor have desire for merit arising therefrom. Part 1 continued. Thus, with Sri Gosaiji's permission, they went on pilgrimage. When they returned, they spent some time with Sri Gosaiji in Mathura, studying Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Subodhiniji. They looked into all the texts of the path and investigated the essence of this grace-filled way by asking Sri Gosaiji. Then they returned to Kambaich. Thus Sri Gosaiji graced them greatly. They asked, and he gave them all the answers. Concluding the reading for today, and we will continue tomorrow. Sab Vaishnavan ko Jai Shri Krishna. राधे राधे। आज के आनंद की जय हो। जय जय श्री राधे।